All right, y'all know what it is. We back as a boxing link and more. Shout out to everybody on the boxing grind and who working on YouTube. Final thoughts: Brandon Rios, Danny Garcia, WBC title eliminator. I believe the winner, according to the WBC, is going to have to fight Sean Porter to be the mandatory for Keith Thurman. So it does have some importance just because the title wasn't on the line, but this is seen to be one of the biggest mismatches in the first quarter of the boxing schedule. Big mismatch. Both made weight. I think both came in at 146.5. Brandon Rios, the difference, they say is he's happy. In his situation with Robert Garcia at the Robert Garcia Boxing Academy, they back together, him and Robert, at the brief stint outside of Robert Garcia's Boxing Academy. And he says that he's feeling very motivated and he's very confident, very confident he's going to upset Danny Garcia. Most of us can't see it. Brandon Rios was never an elite at 147. He was more effective at 135. We know this. Danny Garcia is the stronger guy. He's the better guy with the skill set, and Brandon Rios comes into he works right into Danny Garcia's strength. Danny Garcia's weakness is handling guys who move side to side, in and out, who can move around the ring. He can't cut the ring off. And I heard Kenny Porter talk about an interview with Fight Hub yesterday that Danny doesn't have the foot speed. The foot speed, it doesn't always matter. It's not about the foot speed all the time. He's talking about Sean. You see Sean foot speed. That don't matter. The difference is this. He don't know how to cut the ring off. And you look at his legs, he doesn't. He followed Keith Thurman around the ring instead of stepping over and making Keith Thurman go to the way that he don't want to go, the uncomfortable way, or stepping over and cutting the ring off. If you learn to cut the ring off, it don't have nothing to do with foot speed. It don't. Most of the time, you got technique. Technique trumps, foot speed when you talking about cutting the ring off. He don't have no technique. If he had technique and he was still getting beat, then I'm like, yeah, he's just something he can't deal with. It's just technique. That's something that, Danny and Angel haven't figured out, and maybe they never will figure it out, but it won't be an issue in this fight. I look forward to Danny Garcia probably stopping Brandon Rios. Brandon might go to the distance. I got Danny by mid-round stoppage, but I won't be surprised if Brandon goes to distance. This is Brandon's last hurrah, so if a dude with a family, this is his last chance at the top level. Would you be surprised if he just showed up in the best shape of his life, the best performance of his life? He don't need that and some versus Danny Garcia. But we know what it is. This is a glorified mismatch. And, Showtime picked it up. It is what it is. This should be Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter, according to Kenny Porter. That's what it should be. And then, Keith, fight Keith down the line. But it is what it is. I'll take it. See what Rios got. See what he been cooking up in the gym. Also, David Benavidez and Ronald Garville both made weight, by the way. So good for both of those guys. That's going to be the fight of this card. This is one of those, more and more, this is more and more of those occasions where the undercard or the co-feature is better than the actual main event. Truth be told, if Rios and Garcia didn't have the years in and a veteran name and the sponsorship and all the marketing and people didn't know who they were, this wouldn't be a main event fight. If Ronald and David Benavidez had time in, they'd be the main event fight, obviously. So, but that's going to be the fight. That might be the fight of the day right there with Eubanks and George Groves. We did the final thoughts for that as well. But we're going to see what Rios got left. Rios sounds very motivated. It's not a guy that I count out, but just looking at his track record at 47, there's just nothing he can do. It's nothing physically he can bring at 47. His whole game was predicated at 135 on being bigger than most guys. And then when he was bigger, still Richard Abreu outboxed him and got robbed versus Brandon Rios. But we're going to see what Brandon got. Body physiques don't tell everything. He did have a good amateur background. Danny did take some damage versus Matisse. And he hasn't been the same since, neither has Matisse. So we're going to see what Danny got. But everybody expects Danny to win. Remember, Fred at the Barbershop Conversation, shout out to Barbershop Conversation, said in an interview with Danny yesterday, he told Danny, you got to bet a house on you to win $1 versus Brandon Rios. That was hilarious. And at the end of the day, man, this is what fighters want. They want these mismatches, right? But only want to fight 2 times a year. Which I got a video coming up on the state of boxing, so be looking for that tonight. But that's what it is. You can't give me this type of fight and then only fight one fight after this. If you got a tune-up fight or a mismatch like this, you got to fight 3 times a year. You got to fight 3 times. You got to fight a Sean Porter. Then you got to fight a guy like Keith Thurman, Earl Spence, you know, if you Danny Garcia. This ain't going to build your fan base. It really not. This is not the type of fight that's going to build your fan base. And you know, they fighters think it is, and Leonard Ellerbe think having Tank fight, you know, these mid-level bums and these mid-level guys, that's the way to build a fighter, but that's not the way to build a fighter. Danny Garcia should be fighting a better competition than Danny Garcia right now. But at the end of the day, then Brandon Rios. But it is what it is. Rios is the name, Garcia is the name, but at the end of the day, they're not faking the fans. Like, everybody know this is a colossal mismatch. We know Danny Garcia should win. If he don't, shame on him. See you later, retire. We gone.